What is going on everyone, Nostalgia925 coming at you with another explaining Digimon episode. From the title of the video, I'm sure most of you were already waiting for this one. We're going to be talking about the dinosaur Digimon known as Tyrannomon. Truly one of my most favorite Digimon, and I don't even know why. It's perhaps because I've always been a fan of dinosaurs, somehow. I used to collect books about dinosaurs in my younger years. Dinosaur books, but also animal books, which I still have in my personal library. And with that, I'm hoping you understand more of my passion towards Digimon, is the fact that all my favorite animals and dinosaurs and dragons and lots of that stuff that I love are just brought together in one franchise. Now, before talking about Tyrannomon and its other forms, I do have to say that we are here with a major problem. Our dinosaur here is a champion level. That is the level that comes after the rookie level. Tyrannomon unfortunately does not really have a rookie form like Greymon does with Agumon. There are a few suggestions which we'll take a look at first. Afterwards we're going to get to Tyrannomon and its other forms. Now, according to various sources like the DigiWiki and Wikimon, there are many rookie Digimon evolving into Tyrannomon. Now let me be honest, all of them did not quite make sense if you ask me. You could argue with a few, but I'm convinced that they all do not really make sense. Agumon did come closest, I would say. Both Agumon and Tyrannomon are inspired by the notorious Tyrannosaur, also called T-Rex, a dinosaur said to be among the largest known land predators to have ever walked the earth and is estimated to have exerted the strongest bite force among all terrestrial animals. Its bite is a very important detail to remember when discussing Tyrannomon. I'll make that clear in a moment. So Agumon does seem like a good fit, but then again, despite having many similarities, just looking at its yellow color, clearly Agumon is meant to digivolve into something else. Some would refer to Black Agumon being a proper rookie form of Tyrannomon, to which I have to say I'm not quite sure of that, although it's a good thing that Black Agumon is being mentioned. For those who do not know, Black Agumon exists because of a mysterious secretion known as Black Digitron. When it is mixed with a Digimon while it is digivolving, it will cause the Digimon to assume a black version of its evolved form, which will have greater power and stamina than the regular version in exchange for lower overall speed. This means that, theoretically speaking, Black War Greymon would have a solid power edge over War Greymon. Now, we are going to get back to the Black Digitron in a moment, because Tyrannomon does have darker variants which might maybe hint to a possible fusion with Black Digitron, but we'll get there. Clearly, there are a lot of question marks when it comes to the who would be Tyrannomon's rookie form. The DigiWiki also referred to Chewmon as being one, which would be totally insane if I can be honest. Chewmon, when you take a look at his biography, it is meant to become something entirely different, although even Chewmon is what I consider to be a Digimon that has sort of been left behind, unfortunately, just like Tyrannomon. We'll also talk about that Digimon in a future video. Now, in Reddit, there has been a small debate about the possibilities for Tyrannomon's rookie form. Guilmon was said to be a close second next to Agumon. Now, I will assume that it is because of the red color. That's certainly understandable. It's just that Guilmon as a Digimon, if there is one thing that can be considered a very characterizing feature, or even a trademark if you would, that would be the digital hazard symbol which can be found on its chest. The digital hazard means that the Digimon has the potential to be highly destructive and, if corrupted, could threaten the very existence of both the digital world and the human world. And that symbol can be found in all of Guilmon's next Digivolutions. It sort of tells that Guilmon is in this constant struggle of good and bad, or yin and yang, where if one takes the upper hand, it would either signify a blessing or a curse. That's a theme that cannot be found when you take a look at Tyrannomon in terms of design and even biography. That is why I am saying that I sure do understand why Guilmon is being chosen, but still I'd rather stand with the idea that Tyrannomon simply does not have a rookie form yet. And why would it? Do not forget that some Digimon do exist without having a rookie form. Now, luckily the Digimon community does have a great fandom that are very talented. There is a page on Twitter that goes by the name El Poyomon, who drew what a fantastic Tyrannomon rookie would look like. There isn't a name, unfortunately, for that Digimon, but I'll simply put the page in the comment section, that way you can check it out by yourself. And also, if you would, please support the channel. As Digimon fans, we should all support each other. But I would say that it is a great work. It looks like an Agumon, but with Tyrannomon traits, like the lines on its jaw. So it's fantastic. You can certainly give it a story that would explain why and how it became a Tyrannomon. Now make sure to write in the comment section what you think of this Digimon. Now finally, this is bringing us to Tyrannomon. We can finally get acquainted with the Digimon version of a Tyrannosaur, but before we do that, I do want to tell you one thing that is also very important. You see, for those who do not know, some Digimon have an X variant. The X is a reference to the X antibody. It is a vaccine that is making a Digimon immune to the X program. A program which was launched by Yggdrasil to eliminate the vast majority of the Digimon population due to it being overpopulated, meaning only a very small percentage that either have an X antibody or managed to steal one would end up being moved to a new digital world, and in that process the Digimon would change and become stronger. A Digimon with an X antibody would evolve into its X variant, and Tyrannomon is one to have an X antibody, and it became Tyrannomon X. Now, why am I saying all of this? I realized that I talked a great many times about Digimon and their X variants in the same video. I did that with Agumon, Gabumon, Leomon and more. I realized that it wasn't such a good idea to do so, and I say that because the X variants do have lots of potential even if not much is written about those. Talking about the Digimon's X variant along with their regular Digivolution in the same video is sort of putting these X variations in the shadows, simply because there is so much written about the regular forms and not so much about the X variants, and I don't really like that. That is why I would like to dedicate specific videos to Digimon and their X variants, just to put a stronger emphasis on the potential of these X variations. So that is why in this video we're not going to be discussing Tyrannomon X, but we will do that in another video specifically dedicated to it. Alright, so who is Tyrannomon? We're talking about a Digimon who is part of a Digimon type that includes many other Digimon. Talking about the dinosaur type. The more known dinosaur Digimon would be those of the likes of Greymon, Triceramon, or Ankylomon. The lesser known dinosaurs would be those of the likes of Parasaurmon, Biospinomon, or Bauhakmon, and many others. Now, despite knowing that Tyrannomon is based on a Tyrannosaur, you can say that it became the enhanced version of that dinosaur. And I say that because you see, the T-Rex is known to have short arms, said to be used to slash prey in close proximity. With the short arms it has, it was more beneficial considering the size of the head. Tyrannomon has longer arms and bigger claws, giving it more possibilities. Although I would believe that the T-Rex would be much faster just because Tyrannomon is standing tall instead of having a sort of crouched position like the T-Rex, making it easier to gain in overall speed. There is however a big difference between the two. You see, the T-Rex is really a ferocious dinosaur. Tyrannomon, on the other hand, has intelligence and a docile personality, even making it easy to tame. It's a bit of a surprise, I would say, because Tyrannomon is still a T-Rex and T-Rex are known to be ferocious, so it's very unlike Digimon of the likes of, let us say, Meramon, who have very unpredictable personalities to a point that you never know when it will turn against its tamer. So it's interesting to see that there are lots of variations in personalities. Now, despite Tyrannomon's docile personality, you have to be aware that it does not per se work in its favor. That is because in the Digimon universe you will always have many rivals. It is not because a Digimon is part of a specific type, in this case a dinosaur type, that it would get along with the other dinosaurs. In fact, Tyrannomon has a natural rivalry with Alomon, a dinosaur that is especially ferocious among dinosaur Digimon. And by the way, know that Alomon is known to be very fast because of its leg muscles, and as it is based on the Allosaurus, I took the liberty to compare the speed of a Tyrannosaur to the speed of an Allosaurus. The Allosaurus could reach 30 to 55 km/h, while a Tyrannosaur came at around 27. Now, considering Tyrannomon that is taking a standing position, I would believe that the Tyrannosaur would be faster, which means that Alomon would or could be twice as fast as a Tyrannomon, giving it a rather vulnerable position, even if it has many ways of defending itself. With fire breath, its claws and great physical prowess, obviously it would remain a challenge to take it down. If there is one thing I have always enjoyed when studying Digimon would be the families they belong to, and I'm talking genetically wise. That is because the amount of families one belongs to will ultimately become a crucial aspect that will define how the next form will look like, basically giving it possibly numerous possibilities. In the case of Tyrannomon, the Digimon belongs to the Nature Spirits family. Members of this field are generic animal or monster-like Digimon. It belongs to the Metal Empire family. Members of this field are generally mechanical or mutated Digimon, hence giving Tyrannomon the possibility to develop mechanical parts inside and outside its body. To finish, it belongs to the Dragon's Roar family. Members of this field are generally draconic Digimon. Now, you can't forget that all these families Tyrannomon belongs to means that Tyrannomon could live in many different ecosystems, giving it the possibility to adapt properly. Urban areas, deserts or volcanic areas, all are places where it would have no problems adapting. Now here's the special part of its genes. There is a last family Tyrannomon belongs to. It is the family of Digimon with an unknown genetic aspect. These are Digimon who are either mutants or those who don't fit into any of the other fields, giving them what I would say a genetic sequence that would promote the unpredictable nature of said Digimon when it is going to digivolve. Meaning, you might get a digivolved form that could raise your eyebrows because it might have seemed unlikely and yet it does exist. Now for the sake of this video, we're only going to be focusing on the Tyrannomon species, so we'll not see anything extreme. We are not going to be discussing other Digivolutions like MetalTyramon, who according to the Digimon wiki is also a next form of Tyrannomon. We're solely going to be focusing on the Tyrannomon species. I am, however, already going to share with you that our Digimon T-Rex does have 3 confirmed roads it can take in terms of Digivolution. We're going to start with MasterTyrannomon, basically a darker variant of Tyrannomon but with scars and a more aggressive look if you ask me. Tyrannomon only ever evolves into MasterTyrannomon after it overcame many fierce battles. The scars covering its body act as proof of the numerous battles it has survived. This enabled it to take on a master-like role, coaching its Tyrannomon followers and raising them to become full-fledged warriors. I would say this is sort of like Vikimon who is managing the Ikakumon and Zudomon corps. That is making me imagine how a battle would look like between many organized Tyrannomon led by MasterTyrannomon against an army of Ikakumon and Zudomon led by Vikimon, although that would probably normally be unlikely as the two camps are living in completely different ecosystems. Now, MasterTyrannomon to me is particularly interesting for one reason. As is written, and as I just said, the Digimon has fought numerous battles, resulting in it becoming a leader. This reminds me of the Digimon group known as the Bancho team. This is a group of Digimon who also fought numerous battles and continuously emerged victorious without their spirit being broken. That is how they acquired the Bancho title and became leader-like Digimon, just like MasterTyrannomon. Now, in Digimon recorded history, only 5 Digimon are known to have obtained the title, but with examples as MasterTyrannomon, we have basically proof that there are other potential candidates that could also earn the same title. Does not mean they should also be a part of the Bancho team, it's just that, as far as the story is telling, there is only one condition to earn such a title, and that is that a Digimon has to fight and gain lots of experience, and after having won many battles, the Digimon changed into the Bancho variant, and that regardless of whether it was at the ultimate level or not. So that would be very fitting for a MasterTyrannomon, I would say, because unfortunately, it does not really have a proper mega level. I mean, sure, it is said that MameTyramon is its next form, except that MameTyramon is confirmed to be a member of the Greymon species and not the Tyrannomon species. Or just in case, for those who do not know, MameTyramon has also its own line, or let me say another variation, and I'm talking about MameTyramon Fierce Blade Mode, or also known as Gaiomon Fierce Blade Mode. Very, very interesting Digimon. So, MasterTyrannomon did not get a mega level, and in the Steam community, there is this conversation where people express their thought on how MasterTyrannomon is treated in terms of Digivolution. Ultimore wrote the following: Greymon gets a vaccine and virus mega, same with Garurumon and a few others. Tyrannomon is a fan favorite and I love RustTyrannomon as a mega, and by the way we'll talk about RustTyrannomon in a moment, but I would dearly love to see MasterTyrannomon have a mega data evolution. I've seen an image online, some did of a recolored War Greymon but with Tyrannomon's colors and green spikes. The variant the comment is talking about is called MasterTyrannomon. It is indeed a recolored version not of War Greymon but of Victory Greymon. Now, as a fan of Tyrannomon, I can certainly echo the comment of Ultimore. We're talking about a Digimon that is most definitely loved by many, but obviously did not get a preferential treatment like Greymon. And that is a bit sad because, like many other Digimon, the Tyrannomon species have lots of potential. There's much you can do with it. Oh, and by the way, do you remember my lecture a few minutes ago about Tyrannomon's genetics? Well, MasterTyrannomon belongs only to the Nature Spirits family and the Dragon's Roar family. You can interpret it as Tyrannomon putting more the emphasis on its draconic and animalistic genes. That is why you don't see a big difference between the two forms. That would be a different story when Tyrannomon is taking more advantage of its Metal Empire gene. That is because it will then digivolve into MetalTyrannomon, who belongs to the Metal Empire family, which explains the added technological pieces. It still has that gene of unknown nature and it belongs to the Dragon's Roar family. And the latter really is the sort of like the main genetic sequence, I would say. At the core, it is a dinosaur, but it has changed so much that it is now called an android Digimon, not to be confused with a cyborg Digimon like Metal Greymon. Let me quickly explain the difference between the two. You see, an android is an actual robot that was built. This would mean that MetalTyrannomon in one way or another was also built, meaning that it might not even have some real organic tissues. Its Dragon Roar gene was simply used as a blueprint for a new Tyrannomon variant, and when you read the biography, it is a Tyrannomon that actually remodeled its body entirely in order to acquire mightier powers. It gave its entire body to technology and remodeled itself as an anti-ground interceptor Digimon. Now, Metal Greymon is not an android but a cyborg, which is a living organism with some robotic or mechanical parts that extend its capabilities. And it actually incorporated technology that is appropriated from Andromon. And that is why you can still see Greymon's legs and tails. You could just say that Metal Greymon is a more technologically enhanced Greymon. And the same would go with MegaDramon, set to be remodeled for anti-air use instead of the anti-ground interceptor use for MetalTyrannomon. And when you take a good look at MegaDramon, it is clearly a cyborg like Metal Greymon, which explains why you can see the organic aspects. MetalTyrannomon as an android would probably have very little organic features, if at all. It completely reinforced its body to deflect all attacks. Now, it possesses the terrifying offensive power to smash through armor with its mighty chin, no matter how hard it may be. And I think that this enhancement specifically is a good reference to its heritage of being inspired by the T-Rex, a dinosaur known to have one of the strongest bites in the history of the planet. Its toothly jaw could deliver upwards of 7 tons of pressure, meaning a bite could have crushed a car. And now we have MetalTyrannomon, who enhanced its chin with technology, making me wonder who might have the strongest bite between MetalTyrannomon and Leviamon. If you can guess that, please make sure to write it down in the comment section. Unlike MasterTyrannomon, MetalTyrannomon does have a follow-up Digivolution, which makes total sense. I'm talking about RustTyrannomon, the Tyrant Dragon. Its biography begins with an inconsistency, I would say, an error, as RustTyrannomon now became a cyborg Digimon instead of being the android Digimon back when it was a MetalTyrannomon. That is a bit weird to me because when you look at its genetics, RustTyrannomon only belongs to the Metal Empire family. There is nothing that would link it to the Dragon's Roar family or any of the other genes it once had. This can be interpreted as RustTyrannomon giving 100% of its entire body to technology. But hey, maybe they might have a proper explanation. I just find it weird because when you go back to Tyrannomon, it began as a docile and intelligent Digimon, but now, as it became a MetalTyrannomon and a RustTyrannomon, it changed completely when it comes to personality. It's a totally different Digimon. And as an example, you can use Digimon World Next Order, where it for the hero, and after being defeated, its memories were auto-deleted during its reboot process, meaning that RustTyrannomon probably doesn't even have brain matter. It became a machine that doesn't even look like Tyrannomon in the first place, when we talk about personality and even physical appearance. Now, RustTyrannomon is the mega of a Tyrannomon which has been living through the fierce, long-lasting battles since the digital world's birth by digivolving alongside it. Now this quote, if you were to take it literally, it would mean that a Tyrannomon, who already was there in the days of Pharaohmon, kept on fighting and doing everything it could to survive. It endured many years in harsh environments, not just as a Tyrannomon, but also as a MetalTyrannomon. The issue is that its whole android body, in the meantime, began to rust. Although its body rusting does not mean that it became weaker. On the contrary, it now specializes in annihilation warfare, mowing down its enemies along with their base as one. And now, it predates on Digimon, gorging on hundreds of thousands of Digimon within a short period without leaving any trace, so it gained top-class power and destructive force. If MasterTyrannomon wasn't quote-unquote worthy enough of being one with the Bancho title, I feel like RustTyrannomon said that it doesn't even matter. It took its own path, and as far as I know, it fought much longer than any of the Bancho team members, meaning it is probably a more experienced fighter. RustTyrannomon to me exists because the Digimon developers decided to look into the potential of Tyrannomon and gave it a proper mega level, something it is missing as a MasterTyrannomon. And my thought proves right because I will show you a quote which confirms what I'm saying. Let me quote: RustTyrannomon was created by Kenji Watanabe due to a request by Kazumasa Habu and designed by Maria as an intended homage to Tyrannomon, the first Digimon to be designed who was having less opportunities to appear in the series. At least they recognized that the Digimon did not receive lots of opportunities, not just to appear in the series, but also to do something of significance, or at least get something different. So this quote sort of confirms what I said before. Now, just in case, for those who do not know Kenji Watanabe, we're talking about a Digimon developer who was responsible for designing a variety of Digimon. Kazumasa Habu is the developer who said that Digimon existed before computers. You can find that video in the description box. And Maria is one who designed many X-Antibody Digimon, and he has his own style for doing so. And before I show you the style, let me first show you the other part of the quote. When designing RustTyrannomon, Maria intended to put Asma Green on it, but wasn't sure whether the cyborg was a carrier of the X antibody, so he changed the color slightly so it can be interpreted as sensor lights or a digicore or anything else. Asma Green are green light emitting objects present on the bodies of many X antibody Digimon. They can be said to be the identifying parts of the Digimon drawn by Maria. For example, Wargreymon X has it on its horn, chest, knees, Drummond Killers and Vernier. Gallantmon X has it on its chest and many other parts. The last example would be Chaos Dramon X, who has it on its hand cannons, claws, back cannons and chest. It has not been confirmed whether RustTyrannomon is a carrier of the X antibody, even if Tyrannomon itself has an X antibody, meaning we could assume that RustTyrannomon will get an X form at some given point, but for now we cannot really confirm it. Now, last road Tyrannomon can take in terms of Digivolution is when it becomes DarkTyrannomon. That's a road it didn't take voluntarily. This Digimon is extremely interesting for various reasons. One, it is not a Digivolution, meaning it is another Tyrannomon, and both are at the same champion level, but we're talking about a new Tyrannomon who changed colors, except that it's not just the colors that changed, even the appearance changed. Which is very interesting because when you look at Wargreymon and Black Wargreymon, they are exactly the same, but just recolored versions of one another. That is not the case with Tyrannomon and DarkTyrannomon. And two, as I will explain in a second, DarkTyrannomon should normally also have its own line for well-specified reasons, which I will also explain in a moment. Now, before explaining what needs to be explained, let us get back to the genetics. As we said before, Tyrannomon belongs to the Metal Empire family, the Nature Spirits family, the Dragon's Roar family, and it has an unknown side in its genes. And with that it becomes more clear and understandable why and how it got its other forms, meaning MasterTyrannomon and MetalTyrannomon up to RustTyrannomon. Now DarkTyrannomon on the other hand, when you look at the genes, it belongs to the dragon's raw family, which is understandable. After all, we're still talking about the same dinosaur Digimon. It still has the unknown part in its gene, but there is a new family it belongs to now, and that is the Nightmare Soldiers family. Members of this field are generally demonic or undead Digimon, or those who dwell in haunted areas. When a Digimon has this gene, I noticed that about 7 times out of 10, it ends up becoming the dominant gene, meaning that the Digimon tends to become one with very bad intentions, especially when the Digimon has a Virus attribute. Virus Digimon tends to rewrite the area they live in order to create an environment that better suits them, and in order to do that, they tend to have a nature that is violent and they are driven by a thirst for power and domination. Or there are Digimon who basically lost their mind, and I'm not talking losing their mind like they do when they become robots, but rather in a way where they get violent at the moment they see someone, and that is who DarkTyrannomon is. Originally, it was a Tyrannomon species but was infected by a vicious computer virus, causing a bug in its configuration data. You can see that it now gained a pair of teeth so large they pop out of the mouth. It has 2 fingers on each hand instead of the 3 Tyrannomon has. The tip of its tail appears to be sewed to the rest of it. It has multiple belts on its hand, and its arms became much bigger. The point I'm trying to make is that DarkTyrannomon is more than just another variation. It almost became another Digimon based on Tyrannomon as a blueprint. But the docile personality it once had is completely lost. DarkTyrannomon became a frenzied Digimon and identifies anything reflected in its eyes as an enemy and starts attacking them on sight. I was kind of wondering what virus caused it to become what it became. At first I thought that it was the Black Digitron secretion because certain patterns can be recognized. The fact that the Digimon turned dark and the fact that its offensive power grew. Also, Black Digitron tends to have different effects depending on the Digimon. The one using it will not necessarily gain strength but might gain in endurance instead. Also, the one using it might not necessarily lose their mind. However, there's a case, Omegamon Alter S, who did end up losing its sense of self and was left in a berserk state. And that is what I'm seeing when looking at DarkTyrannomon, except that it is possible we're talking about another type of virus we don't know. Although let's be clear on one thing, Black Digitron is not classified as a virus, so it might not be a good thing to compare the Black Digitron to the virus that is affecting DarkTyrannomon. But I do have to say one thing. I noticed another pattern with Tyrannomon. The Digimon never stays with its red color even if it is known to be a red Digimon. Agumon has about the same color to the end, but Tyrannomon is the only among the Tyrannomon species that has the red color. All the rest end up turning dark with or without virus. So that is making Tyrannomon extra interesting because now I'm wondering whether it is because of that gene part that is unknown. Honestly, does that not make Tyrannomon extra interesting? Let me know in the comment section. We have come to the last section of the video, which is already long. Tyrannomon has some other quote-unquote honorable mentions when it comes to other variants. They are not really known, at least I didn't know about them before doing the video, so let us go ahead and explain those variants. There are 2 of them. The first variant we're going to explain is DeathTyrannomon, who first appeared in the Common Digimon the Capering Monster Bun one-shot pilot manga. A rather special manga because the Digimon universe is much different than what you are used to. I say so because Digimon there are just battle monsters who are raised inside computers. It's really like the Tamagotchi game where you have to raise your creature. In the manga, the main antagonist, named Shinichiro Yosaki, who is the heir to the Josaki Electric Engineering Institute, was so obsessed with obtaining the strongest Digimon that it developed Deathmon, not to be confused with Ghoulmon, who is also called Deathmon. The Deathmon from the Common Digimon manga is one who specializes in data absorption, which makes it grow extremely strong. It took the data of many Digimon like Airdramon, Devimon, even Metal Greymon, and when it does so, it takes the death forms of the Digimon it absorbed. When Deathmon uploaded the data of Tyrannomon, it became DeathTyrannomon. Not exactly the main threat in that story, so it's hard to know its capabilities or what it can do. I do take pleasure to mention this variant though, because it isn't really part of the Tyrannomon species, but it does exist because of its data, and that is just like the other variant, which is MameTyramon, or MameTyramon like I always call it. It actually belongs to the Mamemon species, and those species are with a lot of Digimon. They will get their own video, it's probably going to be as long as this one, if not longer. MameTyramon condensed Tyrannomon's data into its body, pushing its ferocious nature and combat instinct to the surface, where they have strikingly manifested in its behavior. Now that is what is said. However, I might not exactly agree with Tyrannomon's data being used, because at the end, we learned that Tyrannomon has a docile personality and is far from being ferocious. So my theory would be that MameTyramon took in the data of a DarkTyrannomon instead, which would explain why the upper body on MameTyramon, and with upper body I mean the helmet, it would explain why the helmet would be black. But this is me theorizing, and again, both MameTyramon and DeathTyramon are not direct part of the Tyrannomon species, but do exist because of its data. Hi guys, this is the end of the video, I hope you enjoyed it. Tyrannomon is a Digimon that was requested a lot, so here it is. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope I did it justice. There are lots of questions about the Digimon that are left unanswered. For example, who is its rookie form? Will we get other mega level forms for Tyrannomon? So, like, I'm really hoping we get more. I really hope it. More attention and more Digivolution and just more respect. That's what it deserves. Because really, Tyrannomon is a fan favorite. Take it the way you want it, but there shouldn't even be much of a difference between Tyrannomon and Greymon, because both are about the same in type, except that genetically they do differ, and that alone is sparking my interest so much because I love to see how a Digimon has points in common and points of differences with another Digimon that kind of look like it. So how do you guys think about Tyrannomon and its potential? What are your suggestions? Write your comments in the comment section, and please make sure to hit the like button and subscribe. Both actions show me that my work is appreciated. Oh, and if you're new, all my videos are placed in particular Digimon playlists, which are always updated. That way you can catch up to newer and older videos.